Hey everyone, it's Moss from Spiral Path with another episode of Woodland Wondering. It is the 19th of February 2022, still feels weird to say that, and I'm in my usual place for a walk, but it will be shorter this time. I've got some other things that I have to do today, so yeah, I felt like making another episode now that we're in this transitional point. Just on the cusp of spring. It's not fully arrived yet, but there's definitely a lot of early signs. And I've just looked down and spotted loads of which plantain is that? Plantago lanceolata in front of me. There's loads of it here, which is really cool. And there goes blackbird. So yeah, join me on this walk today. As I say, a little bit shorter than usual, but I hope that you enjoy these signs of early spring. If you've not heard Woodland Wanderings before, it's basically as rough and ready as a podcast is going to get. And the point is not to have a highly edited kind of thought piece for an episode, but really to bring you with me on my walks, so you can hopefully hear. The thing I noticed the most when I got out of my van is there is bird song everywhere, and I've seen so many birds of all shapes and sizes just in the few minutes that I've been here. There goes a pigeon flying overhead right on cue. So yeah, you're going to hear probably that mower that's just started in the background. You're going to hear what I hear, but also I share my thoughts with you in response to what I'm seeing. So I am sharing my thoughts in response to the landscape. So I don't know what's going to come up today, but I'm excited to share it with you, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. So yeah, I'll speak to you in a minute. So yesterday was Storm Eunice here in England and further afield, I think. So there are a lot of twigs, fallen branches. So you probably hear me kind of cracking some of those there we go, as I walk over them. And yeah, you can probably hear that too, that the wind is still a little bit up. Just walking around a fallen branch, and there's a bit of a fallen tree on the path in front of me here, which I should be able to get around, but I'll see if I can get out of other people's way. Let's see what I can do. So unfortunately, I couldn't move the tree. It had fallen down across the path, but it hadn't completely snapped, so the branch was still very strongly connected to its root. It's only a very small tree, so although it did come right across the path, I was able to walk around it, and I imagine that's what others have been doing too. So I hope that's the first and last fallen tree I'll see today, but I won't be surprised if a grey squirrel. Oh, bless, so fluffy. I won't be surprised if I see others. Hey, buddy. Yeah. So on the banks of the holloway that I walk down to kind of emerge out into the open landscape, I'm often kind of looking at what's coming out on the banks. It's a good kind of quick indicator when I get here as to where it's at, this landscape. So we've got something from the nightshade family, which I forget off the top of my head exactly what it is. We've got the early stages of miner's lettuce, something else that I don't know, lots of ivy, and occasional clumps of young cleavers, which I will come back to on another day when they've got a bit older and collect big amounts of nettles and cleavers for tincture that I take. So I can access these herbs in my own garden, but not quite in the quantity that I can here. And I know this place well enough that I can go to areas where I feel like it's safe to pick. So yeah, that's something to bear in mind. Oh wow, more fallen branches here, but yeah, I don't know if someone's already been through, I'd imagine so, and kind of cleared the path a bit, because there are it's a very common place here, and this is probably coming up on 11:30, so yeah, it's been plenty of time for people to come through, but it's not too bad so far, but I'm only in the early days. There's more tree roots there. So yeah, the banks aren't thick with vegetation yet, but they are definitely filling up in certain places and a bit bare in others. And crap, here's another tree down. This one's bigger on the path, so I'm going to see what I can do about this one. Well, this is turning into a bit more of a storm report than anything else. So there were some people coming from the other side of the tree, so I didn't want to meet them in the middle. So I stood back and they came through, and actually we both sort of climbed through the middle, cleared a bit of a way through, because it was harder to go around this one with it being a bigger tree. So yeah, it's an interesting day in the woods. Nice. I can see young clumps of young leaves here as I've just stepped onto a path that goes through a little bit of woodland. Some kind of shoots, I'm not sure what. There's one there that looks like some kind of I want to say orchid, but maybe that's stupid. I'm not great with plants that aren't herbs, and I still have an awful lot to learn about herbs. But there's also stands of, what is that here? Something that in the past was coppiced, so hazel or willow. I think hazel. Stands of hazel on both sides of this little path here, and they're reminding me of the wand suit, or the suit of wands rather, in tarot, because they're covered in small little squirrels, small little sprouting leaves all over them. So there's definitely that feeling of renewal and nature awakening here, which is beautiful. And a clump of snowdrops, gorgeous. They're so delicate. It's as I mentioned earlier, still a little bit windy, so the white heads bowed over are kind of shaking, trembling in the wind. Beautiful. So, yeah, cold days in the earliest days of spring, and the land is awakening. Pheasant, or fezzy as I call them. There's so many dry fallen twigs on the ground that it's quite tempting to pick some up for my wood burner, but I'm not really equipped for that. It's another thing that makes me dearly wish I lived somewhere like this, but I'm incredibly lucky to live in a housing cooperative, And I will get there one day to be able to live not in the town centre, and that will have its own challenges too. I know that from being a hunt sab for many years before I retired. Okay, so we are coming down now with a decent hedgerow, looking very wild and whippy. On the right hand side of me, the dark purple whippy stems of brambles are kind of cascading over. Cloud of midges. Oh, that's what you get for walking along with your mouth open. But yeah, the hedgerows are sort of died back enough that you can really see the stems and the branches and the heart of the hedgerows. God, it's really midgy. Whew. I don't know if that's a usual thing. I don't always have the best memory of when things happen in certain seasons. So, the colour scheme at the moment is muted but beautifully contrasted. I've got the sorry, there's all these all these bugs. The kind of grey purple of the soil track in front of me, the bright green of the grass either side, the light grey sky, and then these long fronds of dark purple brambles just kind of cutting through the greenness, and with their dark green and purple blush leaves on top of the bright green grass underneath. It's beautiful. We're just coming up to a narrow bridge now, which I emerge out of on the other side, and the land will open up in front of me, but here's some folks coming, so I'll check back with you in a second. So, one of the things that I enjoy about coming to the same place on a regular basis memory, where have you gone? Yes. Is that I get to see things change so more easily than I can in the town where I live. So it's often weeks apart from my visits here, sometimes 2, 3, sometimes more, but usually 2 or 3 weeks. So I guess the changes stand out to me more. Just noticing places that were, muddy quagmires before, and now the soil has dried out enough that it's a kind of hollow sounding, soft mud, but with a firm enough top for me to walk in. That's actually really lovely to walk on. And the sounds that have changed, like the bird song I mentioned, and new plants as they arrive that weren't here before. So yeah, it's not to say that you can't notice these things in a town or city. Of course you can, but I guess it's literally a matter of there's just so much more of it, and it's so much more visible when I come here. For example, living in the middle of the town like I do, have an ash tree in our garden, and I really lean on that tree as a seasonal marker. I look at it every day to see the different stages that it goes through, and to help anchor me in the time of the year, because I really I think the concept of the Wheel of the Year, as modern as an invention as it is is incredibly useful for reminding us to keep our eyes open to the cycles of nature. But it can be easy to kind of only rely on that and wait for those dates to appear on your calendar to tell you or remind you that the season has changed. But the seasons in nature has never run precisely by a calendar, and particularly now with climate change, that's ever more so the case. So yeah, I love the wheel of the year, but I do like to be able to kind of back that up with other signs that I can see. So there's what is that? Ash trees and small, beautiful hawthorn trees next to me that are sitting beside this small stream, and the lichen is really standing out at the moment. It's so bright yellow, and the foliage is not, there on the trees to kind of cover that up. So yeah, really beautiful kind of, it's kind of like an acid green and a mustard together. Amazing colour. And just coming up to this kind of copse on the right of me in a moment where I think I've usually mentioned this, there's a line of hawthorns at the front that I rely on heavily for my hawthorn harvest, but I do, as I've said before, spread that out to other places so as not to take too much from one place. But this is where I'll come and sing to the trees at Beltane. May Day, May 1st. There's me with calendar dates again. But it's lovely because that's something I've only started doing in the last couple of years. But now, and I do that once a year, but every time I walk this way, sorry for the song reference, it's going to be in my head now, and hopefully yours. Share the pain. I come this way, and it reminds me of the beginnings of relationship with these trees here. So yeah, everything looks laid flat and exposed at the moment. I don't know if that's more so because of the storm, but also there's, I've just seen bulrushes. Amazing. I really love bulrushes. They feel really ancient to me, but also they make me think about how they were dipped into fat to create candles in the past. But yeah, I think the last time I came, they had just mown, probably with a bigger machine, all along the side of the streams, which I can't help but it feels very brutal, but it's not something I know much about, so I'll reserve judgment. There's two small birds kind of playing, it looked like, just flying really close around each other. Comfrey's coming back now. First few crowns, as I think of them, these big clumps that lay in the landscape all along this path. I'm all over the place, apologies. Yes, I don't know if it's because of that or because of the storm, but all of these kind of long grasses and remnants of died back plants are just really laid flat. beautiful hazel tree that I'm very familiar with. A huge stand. Amazing. I just spent a little time checking out the hazel that I was telling you about. I don't know if it's an indication of age. I don't know a lot about hazel, but when I say a stand, I believe that's the right name for it. Again, it's a plant that would have been coppice, but this one is right on the very edge of the bank of the stream. And if you sort of count the individual stems, there's got to be like, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 stems there to create one really big tree. And it's lovely to see that it's now covered in small young catkins and buds. And something I'd not noticed before, just having a close-up look at those buds, is when the buds kind of begin to open, they have this little bright red, like a tropical red colour, kind of tiny fronds is the only word I can think of to describe it, and there must be less than 1 millimetre in length, but there's a few kind of really hard to describe. It looks like a little tail just going through a gate, like a little tail sticking out of the buds. So I wonder what that's the beginning of. I have to check back on those later. I've just come into a big open field area. There's sometimes cattle or sheep in here. I come to this particular field because all along the left-hand side of it is thick with blackthorn. So of course it's a great place to come for sloes when they're ready. It's in fact the main place I come to for sloes. So, but blimey, yeah, the wind is whipping across here, making it a lot colder. Yes, I just remembered that I found my first ever bundle of mistletoe when I was here last, and yeah, there it is still. It's actually in a fallen tree, which I'm really pleased that over the years they've just left it laying. Standing deadwood is a really great habitat, and is very rare these days, where we tidy everything up for it to be left. But wow, there's actually a second ball of mistletoe now just underneath the first, and it looks so vibrant. It's incredibly beautiful. Just heading towards it now. And all the bird song is beautiful. And this is one of the great things about plants is, like everything else with our human perception and culture, we wrap these beings in mythology and folklore. And so mistletoe is the plant of the Druids, highly associated with Druids. All Heal is one of its folk names. And we have accounts, although written by Romans, so make of that what you will, of detailed accounts of ceremony, where I think it's something like the 7th day after the new moon, Druids in white robes would gather under mistletoe on oak. Mistletoe on oak was the particularly important place to find mistletoe. It's particularly sacred. And one of the Druids would climb up with a golden sickle, which is probably bronze, because we're talking about the Iron Age here, and cut some of the mistletoe, and it would be collected. It would be caught in white cloth held by other druids underneath it. It wasn't allowed to touch the ground, because mistletoe is in science terms, a parasite. It grows in clumps within other trees. In the past it was viewed as incredibly sacred because it doesn't grow from the ground, it grows in the air. That's one of the sort of reasons why it wasn't allowed to touch the ground in this ceremony. Exactly what it's used for, we don't know, but I can't help for all of this as a druid myself. This floods into my mind whenever I see mistletoe. Just standing looking at it now, it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful colour, and it still looks fresh. The leaves look quite supple, although they're starting to dry a little bit, I think. When I've handled this around winter solstice at Yule, when friends have given it to me, the leaves are really strange. They're very, very bendy, but also very dry, almost kind of scratchy if you were to kind of run a nail over it. So they're really unusual. And I will admit, I tried mistletoe leaf in tea. I'm definitely talking about the leaves and not the berries, which are poisonous. And I did not like it very much. But you have to try these things. So, hail to the sacred all heal. Incredible. Okay, I'm still here at the wall of sloes, as I think of them sometimes, although there's obviously no sloes out yet. They'll come later in autumn. And I've just left a little birdseed on a fallen log here. Reciprocity, showing our thanks, sharing our gratitude for the things that we are given by the earth, which is everything, We're given so much. Our lives are supported by the earth, and yet, at least in kind of Western culture, we're not trained, we're not educated in ways to express our gratitude. And maybe we don't need to be, but trained or educated, that is. But I, in my opinion, definitely need to express our gratitude. That's how a relationship works, isn't it? It's give and take, and we can't just take all the time without landing up in situations like we are now with climate change, in my opinion. So I've left some birdseed as a mark of my deep gratitude for all that this land gives me. It's a little blue tit. Does anything say spring like that sound? So gratitude and ways to show our appreciation. I would massively recommend the book Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Camera, something like that. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that properly. Braiding Sweetgrass. It's a book that I've seen discussed an awful lot in the kind of online circles in which I move. But I'm coming sort of towards the end of it now, and I will definitely be going out to buy the other author's other books. Gathering Moss, I mean, come on, I have to, is one of the other titles, but also I think The Democracy of All Beings, I believe, might be another title, something like that. But if you only read one, some wool on the floor there from the sheeps. I'll come back to that. Let it be braiding sweetgrass. This book is written by a Indigenous woman who is also a botanist, a plant scientist. But I've just, these feelings that I've had about the earth from my whole life, I've never so beautifully and clearly seen it expressed in words as I have in this book, Braiding Sweetgrass. And to me, the book is a call, a cry out for the need for reciprocity in our relationships, to heal our relationships and reunite us in our relationship with the land. It is impacting and inspiring me on so many levels, and I could go on and on about it, but I will not. It is getting colder here, and I think the rain is coming soon, so I've just turned around and started to head back towards my van, which will take a while. If there's anything else exciting on the way, I will let you know. Speak to you in a minute, folks. Still here. The wind's picking up, as you can hear, and I just realised my battery is going. So I shall say goodbye, and I really hope that you enjoy this slightly shorter than usual episode. Please do leave any feedback. I'd love to know your thoughts and have a conversation around any of the things that I bring up. And I hope you're having a lovely weekend wherever you are, and that you can enjoy some of the signs of spring wherever you live. So I'll leave it there for now, and hope to speak to you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.